The Middle East is turning into a regional Cold War, with Israel and the United States being part of the Western Bloc, and Iran with its proxies becoming the enemies. This region was always in conflict, but now it's turning into more than just that. Neutrality is slowly becoming less of an option, and I want to take a look at this new Middle Eastern Cold War. Which country supports who, and how? Some of the answers will shock you, and this video will specifically focus only on the American-Israeli Cold War with Iran. Rivalries like the Saudi Emirates one will not participate in our analysis. Now let's start the Middle Eastern Cold War. Three leading countries fighting for influence and power. We'll first start inside Yemen, a country destroyed by civil war and Iran's support for a terrorist regime controlling most of Yemen's population and influence. The Houthis are a very powerful group that is fully on Iran's side. They have attacked Israel during the Iranian war, targeted ships in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, and have constantly been used by Iran as a threat towards Saudi Arabia. The Houthis wouldn't exist today if Iran stopped its support of money and weapons towards them, and that's why they are the most loyal Iranian proxy in this Cold War. The rest of Yemen, however, is quite the opposite. The official recognized government of Yemen calls Iran the biggest threat for peace in the Middle East, and the calls for the Houthis' presence in Yemen. While they don't have as much influence in Yemen as the Houthis, you can guess that they are pretty happy about a war that would weaken their biggest rival's supplier. They are also one of the only governments in the region that has only condemned Iran's actions, instead of condemning both Iran and the US-Israeli actions. So it's fair to say that they're pretty much on our side. Now moving to Oman, this is a pretty simple one. Oman has never taken a side towards anybody, whether it's the US and Iran, Israel or Palestine, or even their own neighbors. The United States has a very strong relationship with Oman, as so most of the Western countries, and Oman has always remained neutral, in this case, talking and cooperating both with Iran and the US. While it's true that Oman still operates port and airfield contracts with America, allowing them to come and leave whenever they want, this doesn't make them lean towards any side, and they will most probably remain neutral even if Iran keeps attacking them. But you know who isn't going to remain neutral? Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait. These three have been hit very hard by Iran, but they didn't just stand by and watch it happen, they struck back. Reports now confirm that Saudi Arabia and the UAE secretly launched attacks on Iranian territory, while Kuwait has launched attacks inside Iraq in order to weaken Iranian militias. All three of them have been using Western weaponry, American, British and French-made weapons and fighter jets. The Emirates are the biggest pro-Western country out of all of them because they worked together with the US and Israel to launch coordinated strikes inside Iran. They even tried creating an international coalition to forcibly reopen the Strait of Hormuz from Iran's blockade. While Kuwait informed the US and Saudi Arabia before striking Iraq, and Saudi Arabia attacked Iranian territories alone without telling anyone but the Iranian regime as a future warning. And both the Saudis and the Emirates have allegedly sent secret messages to the Americans, telling them to strike Iran harder in order to totally weaken them for good. While all three of them have been classified in the pro-Western camp, Saudi Arabia is barely crossing the leaning line. Now looking at their smaller neighbors, Bahrain and Qatar. Bahrain is also one of the biggest US allies in the region. It hosts America's 5th Navy Fleet headquarters since 1995, a huge base for the American military. It has always supported the US in UN proposals and votes. They have been keeping their own country secure by arresting anybody that they think is an Iranian spy agent, and they are the only Arab country that has joined America's international coalitions. One big example would be Operation Prosperity Guardian. Qatar, on the other hand, is a bit different. Qatar is playing both sides by acting as a mediator, and they've been a mediator for a long time. Yet even after Qatar declared neutrality between the two sides, Iran still attacked it because of American military presence inside its territory. And it's true, Qatar is hosting a huge American base on its territory. They allow the US military access on its land, and they oppose the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. But this doesn't fully align them with the United States. Qatar isn't picking a side even after the Iranian attacks, and reports suggest that they allegedly still host Hamas officials inside their land. In 2022, the United States also rewarded Qatar with the title of a major non-NATO ally, giving them a special relationship with the US. But even after all of this, Qatar still remained a friendly nation towards Iran. Their relationship seems to have slowed down right now because of the Iranian strikes on Qatari territory, but the future still looks friendly for the two of them. Moving up north, Iraq is in very big trouble. Its leader is trying to keep the country neutral and not involved, but the only problem is that most government officials inside Iraq are very pro-Iran. They are actively affirming their support for it. The United States has issued warnings to Iraq to not get involved, but Iraq has no power at the moment to stop Iranian militias that are using Iraq as their own giant military base. Meanwhile, in the Kurdish territory of Iraq, they mostly support the American and Israeli side and actively fight against Iranian forces. Iraq is a very complicated cause, but I would say that they are kind of neutral but in a way more leaning towards the Iranian regime. Syria, on the other hand, is leaning towards the American-Israeli side. Their leader has stated that Syria will remain neutral and would only act if its own territory got attacked, but in reality, Syria does whatever Turkey and the Saudis tell them to do, and their rule over the country couldn't have happened without the help of the Western world. Since the new leadership in Syria took over, they have actively stopped Iranian proxies from using Syria as an Iranian proxy base. They have closed the Lebanese and Iraqi borders and actively support the dissolution of Iranian proxy Hezbollah in Lebanon. While Syria is leaning towards the Western world, Lebanon is in a very deep crisis. Lebanon always tried to be friendly with everyone, to be neutral in the Middle Eastern conflicts. The only problem was that Iran came, not just politically, but with money and guns. They created Hezbollah, one of the most powerful Iranian proxies in the entire Middle East, and the main problem to Lebanon's peaceful dream. The only reason Israel is attacking Lebanese territory is because of Hezbollah. The government of Lebanon does not want a war with Israel and would like to have peaceful borders. Not so long ago, Lebanon even decided to expel Iranian officials from its territory because of their support for Hezbollah. But if we were to ignore the problem of Lebanon's Iranian proxy, the country itself is actually pretty pro-Western, as Lebanon has a great relationship with the United States and most notably France. On Israel's eastern border sits yet another pretty pro-Western country, Jordan. Since the start of the war, Jordan has coordinated with the US and Israel in order to shoot down incoming drones from Iran, and Israel also uses Jordan's territory in order to better strike the Iranian regime. Jordan itself has also condemned both Iran but also the US-Israeli attacks since the start of the war, but have nonetheless been very helpful to Israel. Cyprus, while refusing to get militarily involved, they have a very good triple alliance with Greece and Israel, boosting cooperation economically, militarily, and politically. Their close neighbors, however, Egypt and Turkey, aren't the same. Both of them are using the same strategy as Oman, total neutrality, communicating with both the US and Iran. These two have condemned both the US-Israeli strikes on Iran, but also Iran's strikes on the Gulf states. While they call themselves neutral, this seems like a way to get along with the US, because their leaders and even some MEPs have been making threats towards Israel, calling it a Zionist American plan and scaring their own populations into thinking that Israel will attack them next. And this is how my final map of the Middle Eastern Cold War looks like. Let me know in the comments what you think about this, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching.